Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about the IRAC method. This is a popular methodology system for legal analysis and it helps you structure answers to problem questions in an efficient way in order to help you achieve those top marks in your exams. So what is IRAC? It stands for Issue, Rule, Analysis and Conclusion. This is a helpful structure that helps guide you when answering problem questions. It also helps guide the reader and it takes them through your argument to make it seem more comprehensive and easier to follow. It really helps in those situations when you face a problem question that you're really stuck on and you have no idea where to begin with, especially in an exam setting. What is a problem question? These are questions you'll encounter in your exam that mimic a real-life scenario where you would be a lawyer having to give advice to a client who is facing a legal problem or dispute, hence the word problem question. And this structure helps you form a well-rounded answer to your exam question and it makes sure you cover all the different aspects an examiner may be looking for. So first up is issue. Make sure you identify and describe the legal problem. Only then can you determine what legal rules to apply next. You have to show to the examiner you can pick out these legal issues in the scenario in front of you. Make sure you use the content you've learned and think of the legal questions you can ask. If you're really stuck, brainstorm what you've covered in the module. If it's criminal, for example, think of the different crimes you can identify in the situation. If it's contract, does it seem as if there's a contract? If so, why? If not, why not? What stage in the scenario can you clearly point out that something legally doubtful or legally grey has happened? Also think about what the examiner may test you on. Bear in mind that there may be more than one legal issue in each question. This does vary between modules, but most of the time there are multiple different legal issues that you have to identify. You have to make sure you provide a separate rule and analysis for each one. And just a side note, not all will be long. Some can be solved really quickly, so don't dwell on them. Make sure you spend more time on the issues that require a longer comprehensive analysis. But most importantly for this step, just make sure you identify all the legal problems, and if you do, that will score you the top marks. Next up is rule. What law applies to the legal problem that you've identified? Consult your lecture notes, revision notes, find the relevant cases, the relevant statutes, or legislation that applies. The reference you make to the legal rule tends to refer to a concept or type of legal thinking. Generally speaking, it tends to be quite broad, so make sure you summarize the rule. For example, revocation of an offer is accepted only when received. Therefore, and give your reasoning. And apply this to the current scenario you're dealing with. You have to use the legal principle, how its rules apply, and how they help you answer the legal question. It's really important that you show the examiner that not only can you find the legal issue, but you can discern the relevant legal rule from it. It's all well and good addressing the issue, but you have to relate it back to the law. How is the issue a legal one? Next up is analysis. The analysis section will be the longest and the most important section that you should spend most of your time on. This will bring you from a 2-2 student to a first class student. And this is where you apply your rule to the specific scenario at hand. You need to show how you've used the rule to make a conclusion based on evidence. And you need to have authority. Otherwise, your argument becomes completely baseless. You need a case to substantiate your claim and the principle that you're applying. Why does the principle apply here? How does the principle apply here? You can use the similarities in the cases you've learned. You can even reference these similarities if there are any between the scenario you're currently being faced and the facts in a case that you know. Oftentimes, problem questions will mirror the facts of a case and differ at a certain point so that you have to argue a new conclusion. And this is where it really helps to be familiar with even the basic facts of a case. Even if you generally know what happens in them, this is so that you have a good idea of where to look in your open book exam. You can examine the court's legal reasoning for each case's decision, follow their thinking, and see if you can apply it to your scenario at hand. See how their analysis process works. And you can reference various different cases if your scenario mirrors certain parts of one and different parts of another. And you can use this to subsequently form your analysis and the reasoning for your analysis. So finally, the conclusion. Make sure you answer the questions prepared. It's so easy to forget, but it's so important. It also helps you form your conclusion. If you rewrite the question, you can phrase it in a way that ensures you answer it. You have to come up with the most probable outcome, so compare and contrast the information in the cases you've learned with the current scenario at hand. Review the court's ruling. Why did they come to that decision? How did they come to that decision? Try and follow their line of argument or their line of thinking. How did they draw their conclusion from that? You then have to determine if they would also come to the same conclusion given the facts you're given at hand in the current scenario. Make sure you use non-decisive wording such as the court is likely to, or the court is more likely to than not. The conclusion of your analysis should be clear and concise, such as the court is likely to find the contract between the parties void. This is very clear and it sets out your argument. Make sure you don't waffle or talk around your point, as this can come across like you struggle to reach a conclusion. Finally, a top tip is to mention what variables there are or that there may be. So these are external factors that aren't necessarily directly referred to in the scenario, but they can have a big implication on the conclusion of your answer. So if you reference these, they give you bonus points, and this is what distinguishes your exam from others and helps you reach those top marks. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope these tips could be useful when doing your exam revision, or at least helpful in knowing how to structure your answers to problem questions. Please contact us if you have any questions or if you want to know more about what we do. Our details are on screen.